In this video module, we're going to be covering 1.5, describing angle pair relationships. Now, you should have already copied these vocabulary words and diagrams. Now we're just going to run through them. The first vocabulary word is complementary angles. Two angles whose sum is 90 degrees. Now, a very common misconception is that you always think that they have to be touching like this diagram on the left. But by definition, they just have to equal 90 degrees. So this one here, 60 degrees and 30 degrees add up to 90. Therefore, by definition, they are complementary angles. Now, the root word in complementary is complement. So if a question ever asks you to find the complement of an angle, you have to know that they're referring to 90 degrees. Next is supplementary angles. This is two angles whose sum is 180. Again, on the left, right here, these are touching. 120 and 60 do add to 180. However, here on the right, the 180 add up to 180. Therefore, by definition, they are supplementary angles. Now, the root word in supplementary is supplement. So if you ever were to be asked, what is the supplement of 120? You subtract 120 from 180 to get the 60 degrees. Next is adjacent angles. Two angles that share a common vertex, in this case it is B, and a side, in this case it is BD, but they have no common interior points. So there's nothing in common here with angle 1 or 2. So we say angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent. They touch. Now, the next one is linear pair. You'll notice that I have this one starred. This is a very important definition. It reads, two adjacent angles, they touch, are a linear pair if their non-common sides are opposite rays. So right here is an opposite ray, and right here is an opposite ray. Angle 1 and angle 2 do not share those, so it's non-common. So basically what this is telling you when it tells you that you have opposite rays is that they are forming a line. So a linear pair, they touch, they're adjacent, and they're on a line. Now, the last definition you copied was vertical angles. Vertical angle definition's a little weird. It says the sides form two pair of opposite rays. So here is an opposite ray pair, but then here is an opposite ray pair. So it's basically two lines that are intersecting. So what you need to remember and realize is that 3 and 6 are vertical simply because they are across from each other. Same thing with 4 and 5. They are across from each other. They look at each other. Now we are simply just going to go ahead and continue the notes. So with this, anytime that if I go too fast, you can always pause the video to get caught up. So as you can see here, I have already started answering number 1. So if you need to pause the video and write those labels down, go ahead. But number 1 states if we're going to use these definitions, we have to be able to apply them. So it says in the figure, name a pair of complementary angles, a pair of supplementary angles, and a pair of adjacent angles. Now remember what complementary angles are. They add up to 90. So what we would need to do is we know that they're going to be small. So I'm going to take 52. I'm going to take the 52, which is right here, and the 38, and I'm going to test to see if they equal 90. Remember, they do not have to touch. Well, 52 plus 38 is 90. Therefore, that is my angles. So I'm going to label these angle A, B, D, which is right there, and this angle right here, and angle B, D, C, those are complementary. This one was 52 degrees, this one was 38 degrees. If you add them, they give you 90 degrees. So by definition, those are our complementary ones. Now, supplementary ones must equal 180. So if I look at the 58, or excuse me, the 52, I notice that it goes along perfectly with 128. So for this one, it's going to be this angle and this angle. So in order to write that, I label angle A, B, D, and angle BDE. So now again, ABD was 52 degrees, and BDE, it was 128 degrees. When you add those up, you get 180 degrees, which makes them supplementary. Now the last one here is asking us for adjacent. Now adjacent angles must touch. So the only angles that I have touching will be right there. So those angles will be angle CDB, which is right there, and the other angle BDE, which is right there. So those are adjacent. So in order to answer questions like number 1, you have to be very familiar with your vocabulary words. So now in number 2, it says name a pair of supplementary angles. Well, I automatically go and I try to get these two together, but that's going to give me 190 degrees if I add them. So that's not correct. But if I look over here, I see the 40, and the 40 will pair with the 140. Therefore, I can say angle ABC, which is 40 degrees, and angle FEG. So again, this one is 40 degrees, this one is 140 degrees. If I add those up, I get 180 degrees, which is the definition of supplementary. Now, here is number 3. Number 3 states, given that angle 1 is a complement of angle 2 and angle 2 is 57, find the measure of angle 1. Now, you've got to know what this is. Complementary. That's always 90 degrees. So, if that one is 57, you take 90, you subtract 57 from that, and you should get 33 degrees. So, the measure of angle 1 would be 33 degrees. Make sure you are using good habits of saying up here, you've got your angles up there, but here you're talking about a measure, so we switch to our notation. Last is supplement. It says given that angle 3 is a supplement of 4, and the measure of angle 4 is 41 degrees, find the measure of angle 3. So again, you've got to know that this is 180 degrees. So you would simply take 180, subtract 41 degrees. That is going to give you 139. So therefore you would write the measure of angle 3 equals 139 degrees.